Welcome to the MVP show. Our guest today is AK. I'll let you hear from him his full name. He comes from Myanmar, which is, very close to the equator, a warm part of the world, very diverse. And anyhow, I'm going to let him tell you about it as we jump into the show. It's great to have him on the show, and he's only, when I'm recording this, he's only been an MVP for 15 days, so he is fresh. And it's so good to have him on the show. He lives in the same part of the world as me now in New Zealand. But for full show notes for this episode, you're going to find them at nz365guide.com/167. Now let's get on with the show. AK, welcome to the MVP show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's good to have you on the show, mate. It's we're in the same country. I don't get to do podcasts often with people in the same time zone as me nowadays. So it's good to have you on here. I'm in Auckland, and of course you're in Wellington, in the capital city of New Zealand, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what does AK stand for?
It's my first initials. So I'm from Myanmar. So our names are quite unique and quite difficult to pronounce. So my name is Aung. So when I introduced to a paper, so I find it difficult to pronounce. So I make it, okay, you can just call me AK. And sometimes I make a joke. So if you don't remember my name, that's fine. And again, this is AK-47. And take out the 47, it become AK.
I love it. So obviously you weren't born in Wellington, right? You weren't born in New Zealand. You come from, is it Myanmar?
Yes, it is called Myanmar. They used to call Burma.
So what happened? Why the name change? I'm a bit ignorant here. Tell me, when did it change from Burma to Myanmar?
I think it's about 60 years ago. Yeah, but we were under the British before we got the independence, and they used to call Burma. And then when we have a military government, and then let's change the name to Myanmar. But I think most people know Burma. Yeah.
And so obviously it's our English upbringing that's kind of drummed into us the term Burma rather than Myanmar.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so I take it you're on the border of Thailand, is it? What other countries do you border with?
Oh, so we have we are neighbor with India, Bangladesh, China, Thailand, Laos.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many countries.
So many countries, yes. So it's that we are really in terms of cultures, you can find Indian culture, you can find a China culture, you can find Thailand cultures. And obviously we do have our own culture. Yeah.
So if I was to visit Myanmar, where should I go? What should I see?
Yeah, that's the very good point. Because our country is quite long from from north to south, quite similar to New Zealand. So some parts have the coastal area, and some of the parts they have the mountainous area, and in the mid is just a flat. So it is a really diverse country, and think for those the foreigners who want to visit Myanmar, probably the Bagan is the most famous one.
The Bagan?
Bagan, yeah. So they have thousands of pagodas, and it was used to be the first dynasty of Myanmar.
Wow. And is that on the Bay of Bengal or?
No, it is right in the middle of Myanmar. Yeah, it's quite warm. I think even in winter, it is about 24 degrees Celsius.
Nice. So you must be pretty close to the equator there. Do you go home much?
No, that's before I came to New Zealand, so I was in Singapore for about 6 years. So when in Singapore, I used to go back to my country almost every year because it's only 3-hour flights. I think I haven't been home for almost 6 years.
Wow, it's about 12 hours now, isn't it?
Yeah, including like a transit.
I only know this because I just gotten back from Singapore on the weekend. I've been in Singapore for the last 7 days, so and that was a 9-hour flight from Auckland to Singapore. So I thought if it's 3 hours on, right, and you got a layover, do you normally go via Singapore?
Yes, we normally go through Singapore.
Wow. Okay, and it's been 6 years since you've been home.
Yes.
Wow, that's a long time, man. What brought you to New Zealand?
This is a job, obviously. So, let me tell you about like my background. So it might be quite interesting. So I was born in Myanmar, and our culture is like most of the Asian countries, like we just focus on academic, like just academic focus. We don't have any like external activities. And then when I finished my high school, then I decided, okay, IT is something that I want to do. And then I started like working on the IT companies. And then, the first time I work is a apprentice web developer. And I got paid like $20 a month.
Wow. A month?
A month, yes.
Wow. Incredible.
And okay, so then I got some experience and moved to Singapore. And this is where I started working at Dynamic CRM. That was CRM version 4. I think in 2009, yes. And then, yes, I got settled in Singapore. I got family. I got 2 kids in Singapore. But like in Singapore, you've been there, it's a very busy country. Probably for the singer, probably it is a good place, but not for the family life, to me, at least. So I want to spend more time with my families, and, I want my kids to enjoy the like external activities, not just the academic. And then I think, New Zealand seems to be a good place to raise my kids and family. I think it's one of my best decisions I've made.
Wow, that's good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. How old are your children now?
So they are 7 and 6. So both are girls.
Wow, fantastic. And so they're in school now?
Yes, they're going to school.
And what part of Wellington do you live in?
And I stayed in Nayo.
Nayo?
Nayo, yes.
So that's what, you got to get a train into town, do you?
Yes, like a Wellington's public transport, I don't trust.
I think you could say New Zealand public transport. It's not just Wellington.
Is that right? So usually I drive, and sometimes I take bus, public transport on a good day. Yeah.
Awesome. And so how long you been an MVP now?
So I just got the MVP on 1st of December. So it's the early Christmas from Microsoft.
Wow, very nice. You happy?
Yes, I'm really overwhelmed. It's like obviously I want to be MVP, but I feel like I still have a lot to catch up, but I would take it.
Yeah. I think it's well deserved, and it's great that you've been awarded and you're in the program. So tell us, what was your journey into the program? Who nominated you? How did you, what did you have to do to ultimately, get that email on the 1st of December, well, in your case, 2nd of December because of US time zones, right? And find out that you're an MVP?
Mostly like I started working with a Power Apps component framework. So I remember you have a podcast with Charles, and then he asks, hey, anyone, if you want to try on the PCF, just send us the email. So I dropped in an email, and I was not MVP there. And then he gave me like a preview. I started working with a PCF, and like Andrew Lee from
I know Andrew well. Yep.
Australia. Yeah. So he was the kind of the first guy doing a PCF, and then we started working, and I did presentations with him in Australia Summit too. And then I think this is where my journey started. And previously I do work on like a Flow and Power Apps and Canvas apps. But, the PCF is something that bring back to like a dynamic space or the Power Apps space. And then the one day, like Charles Stalin check, he sent me a tweet, say, okay, watch out for my email. So, okay. I'm quite excited to see, he said he already nominated me. And then, yeah, so I'm not quite sure where at that time, whether
So who nominated you,
No,
sorry?
it's just it.
Charles Sterling.
Charles
Okay,
Sterling,
yes. I was just because we mentioned Charles Lamana earlier on in that podcast, which is just so we get the Charleses correct. Okay, so Chuck Sterling nominated you. Yep.
That time, I'm not quite sure, okay, what should I do? But obviously, I want to do on my own pace, on my plan. And I don't want to do just because I get nominated.
So you got nominated, and I take it then somebody from the MVP team got in touch with you?
Don't recall, but there's some of my friends from Australia MVP. They sent me hey, have you nominated, right? So yes, I say yes, but I'm not quite sure what should I do, but I would just keep doing what I'm doing, and then it just happened.
And did they give you any software? Microsoft give you some software to track your contributions in?
Just this one we got nominated. I received the link to fill up all the contributions.
Excellent. And so you did that, and then how long did you wait before you found out?
2 months.
After you filled out your contributions?
Yeah.
About 2 months? Yeah, very good. Okay, so that's exciting. So PCF is something you've obviously got heavily into. Who do you see are the big PCF gurus around the world that are really doing cool stuff in PCF? Who jumps to mind for you?
I think the PCF is, especially the community, is quite really active, and it's really hard for me to pinpoint who is the the guru. But recently, I saw your one, a C-Spark, and I found out Scott Jewell is working on that, and he is not just a PCF. The Scott is the guru for us. It's I take him as a role model, and the things he work in C-Sparks are really amazing. So, yeah, if I have to choose, it's a very difficult choice. But I think, in generally, I take Scott as a role model.
That's awesome. And I couldn't agree more with you. Where do you see the opportunities are with PCF? What do you if people are considering, getting involved in PCF and they're developers and they really want to unpackage it and explore it, what would you recommend they do?
I think my suggestions would be a really general, whatever you want to try the new stuff, you want to explore a deep dive. The first thing is get your hands dirty and trying it out, even just a simple example. Is that they give someone a better idea of how things work, and then once you understand this, you can start thinking a more creative idea on what can we do and then I think it's just a kind of evolutions.
What type of languages do you need to know to be good at creating PCF controls?
Since I came from a web development background before coming to Dynamic, so any web technologies is really helpful, for example, a JavaScript, but the PCF is using a TypeScript. So to me, I see a TypeScript is a superset of a JavaScript, and you need some framework like React, which help you developing all the components quite easily without involving hundreds lines of code. Yeah.
So that's React. That's the
yes.
Facebook, isn't it? It creates React. Is that right? Okay. And so interesting. And so, what about tools and stuff? Where should people, Where should people go to look at examples of PCF, of using PCF? Where should they go? Is there any training material that you'd recommend they look at?
The first of all, the Microsoft has the step-by-step documentation, so like a really basics, and from basic one to quite advanced one. And also you can go to like a pcf.gallery, which is from the Guido MVP. And then you can see like a hundreds of a community components. And the best thing is you can reach out to them, and I'm sure that everybody is happy to help. Yeah.
So true. We'll get those resources put into the show notes for this episode so people can go check those out. So tell me, what are you doing actively in the community then in Wellington? What do you do? What do you get involved in as part of your community engagement?
And so I'm involved in like a New Zealand Dynamic 365 Saturday for 2 years, and Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch, and also in terms of Wellington, so I'm quite frequently speak at the local meetup.
And you're involved in running that as well a bit, aren't you?
Sort of like a contributor, but I don't do like arrangements of the place or the like a.
Is that more Rami does that?
Yeah, that Rami is the main guy who ran the user groups and Dynamic 365 Saturday. So we are just more like a kind of a volunteer than we contribute.
Yeah. Very good, very good. What's the best thing about living in Wellington?
I think everybody complain the Wellington's weather, but I kind of like it because I like a cool weather. And I was born in like the southern part of Myanmar, which is quite cool, and that make me like fall in love with Wellington. Obviously, the wind is out of the questions.
Yeah. So what outdoor activities have you got involved with around New Zealand since you've lived here?
So when I get here, the first thing I notice is in New Zealand they have like the Alpines ski resort. Then in the second year, under 2016, so I decided to go to the Alpines and start learning skiing. And then it took about like 3 years, and now my whole family, including my kids, they are very well in skiing.
Wow, that's so cool. And are you going to like Tongariro? Is that where you're going?
Yes, I went to like Mount Ruapehu.
Mount Ruapehu, yeah. Very cool.
And then in winter, it's like every weekend I'm just driving up there, spend about a night, stay a night or two, and driving back to the Wellington.
Wow, that's like 4-hour drive, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Very cool. You are very keen. And do you when I first logged into to do the recording today, I could hear some piano playing. Are you a pianist?
I'm not really good at piano. I'm still learning. So, and I think I'm good at playing guitar. And I pick up the guitar around 12 years old. And then, obviously when I have the kids, I can play kind of a rock music or metal music, which I really like. So I switched to like a piano. And at the same time, I'm teaching my kids to, it's kind of like bounding times. Teaching kids is not really easy. It takes a lot of patience. But I think it's a good experience.
Yeah, I think I saw a video of yours on YouTube with, was it over 90,000 views of you playing guitar?
Yes.
That is crazy, man. That's phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes, I plan to do again probably in 2-3 years. Yeah, when my kids grow up.
That is so good. Do you go and play in any like bars or clubs in Wellington at all?
No, I didn't have a chance to do that. But another thing is I want my kids to understand the music. Because I work in like IT. It's more about the logical thinking. It's only about 0 and 1 and true or false. But music is something like it's just like an analog. It could be. It's not the black and white. It could be the gray area. This is where I find like a really enjoying doing like music and art.
Yeah, so true. It's funny you say 0, 1, true, false. I've been, looking a bit at quantum computing lately, and that's really going to make the whole 0, 1, I don't know, doesn't it make it obsolete because it can be 0 and 1 at the same time? It certainly changes things phenomenally. So to wrap up, I've got some quick fire questions for you. These are random questions. I don't know if you've heard me ask some of these questions before, but they're totally lucky dip. So are you ready? Okay. Would you rather be rich or famous?
Oh, that's really tough. Because none of them is my idea.
What, you wouldn't want? You'd say you don't want either of them?
I mean, not ideally. It is not my top priority. But if I have to make a choice, probably maybe rich.
Fair call. I'd agree. Who cares about being famous? I'd much rather be rich and let the lifestyle of riches afford me anonymity. Deep. Okay, here it is. What is a mistake people often make about you?
Oh, yeah. I think probably mind thinking. So mind thinking is a bit weird.
What do you mean?
It's like sometimes I want to... there's a lot of misunderstandings to me. Like sometimes, for example, like I want to, let's say, drive this way, even like a car, for example. And because I know the other way there's like a traffic and it might take long, but choosing this road, you have to drive slowly, but it will get there. But sometimes people say, oh, there's the faster way of driving the other way. But yeah, I know, but this, there's kind of like a misunderstanding. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Who would you like to play in a movie? If you could play any character in a movie, what character would you like to play?
I think I would choose Batman.
Batman? Yeah. Very good. Very good. Very good. Who was your first love and when was it? How old were you? Who was your first love and how old were you?
I think my first love should be my parent.
It's a good take on it. Well done, man. Well done. I like that. If you could instantly be an expert in a subject, what would it be? If you could snap your fingers and you were just the absolute guru instantly on a subject, what would it be?
I think it would be the stand-up comedian.
Is that right? Stand-up comedy. Do you go to stand-up comedy?
No, because, I watch a lot of show online, but I haven't been ever to the show. Because the reason I have this is because I'm very poor at like a sense of humor. And so that will improve my sense of humor. And then also it will improve my public speaking skill because you need a lot of like interaction with the audience. Yeah, I think that will address most of my weakness.
I like it. Here's the last one. What's the biggest IT purchase you've ever made?
I think my MacBook Pro.
Yeah? Your MacBook Pro. Yeah, good. Yeah.
So I use like Mac at home and I don't have any Windows device. And the reason is I want to be kind of a cross-platform, not just a Windows. So even like a PCF, I keep asking the product team, hey, where is the cross-platform coming? Because currently end-to-end only work in the Windows.
You're kidding me. I didn't know this.
Yeah, so some of the steps you need the Windows machines to do that.
So so the steps, but a control, right? A component, once it's compiled and everything, it'll work in Safari, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will work. What I'm trying to say is the development. So when I build the control,
yes. Yep.
Yeah, some part of real estate require Windows.
Yep, I understand that. That makes sense. Awesome, AK. It's been good to have you on the show. If people want to, see what you're doing, are there any blogs or social media accounts that they can follow you on?
Yes. I have a Twitter, and twitter.com/Aung. So my name. And you can find me on the LinkedIn. And I have the blog, or the blog.dynamicscode.net. So I usually regularly post there.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please ask if you, a regular listener, if you could go to iTunes for me and give me a review. 5-star, of course. Well, up to you. And leave some feedback there. If you want a shortcut to get there, it's nz365guy.com/iTunes. It'll take you to the page, log in, create an account if you don't have one, log in, and just give me a rating. That would be fantastic. I would really appreciate that. Trying to get up to 20 reviews so that I can show up actually on iTunes as a legitimate podcast. I've been doing this for over 2 years and it's still not showing up or had any reviews officially, but of course I've had well over 10, but it's not just showing up at this point. So I'd appreciate it if you could help me. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guy.com/167. See you next Thursday.